I know they did not just end that episode of It Welcome to Derry like that, because that's just an insane cliffhanger. And I know Pennywise's name is on those Epstein files, I just can't prove it yet. But they don't call him Welcome Down Wise for no reason. And this episode was really crazy, scary, spooky, not so hilarious. This episode really had it all. So much drama, action, suspense, and some insane reveals. Plus we got the lore on how Pennywise said, I'm pulling up on Derry, and how the Native Americans said, you are not welcome to Derry. And I'm going to be recapping and reviewing the episode with spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, make sure you drop a like and follow, but come back later because I do want to hear your thoughts. But either way, me and you know what we got to do. We got to talk about it. And we pick up this episode immediately where the last episode ended off, with the kids taking their developed photos straight to the police officers. But when the officers take a look at all the photos they took and developed, Pennywise hit the clutch sports method and LeBron's management and scrubbed the evidence. But the kids are like, nah, look at this one right here. You don't see it? It's a clown. And the cops are all like, really? A fucking clown? Man, somebody get these fucking kids out of here. So unfortunately, their plan to take photos of Pennywise was ass. Which is when we pick up with Will's mom looking at the local newspaper, and that's just a crazy headline. But the gears start turning in her brain, and you could tell she wants to do something about this, because she's really about that action, boss. That's when Rose pulls up to her crib to deliver everything she bought at the antique shop, and Charlotte asks her some questions about Derry, and she's like, yeah, you know, this town is a little weird. And Rose says, but if you ever need anything, here's my card. Which is when we pick back up with Dick hollering, and his crew getting what he asked for. A nice little place for them to just chill. I mean, the place definitely got a bunch of cobwebs and is dirty as shit, and they just threw a bunch of random shit in there, but hey, potential, like he said. But the best part of this scene was when one of the other crew members said, hey, hollering, you can cook us up something over here. We can make this a kitchen. Which is a clear and obvious nod to his role in The Shining later on in another Stephen King movie and book, where he plays a chef at the Overlook Hotel. That's when we cut to the school and a projector showing off a nice little turtle telling them to duck and cover because of the bomb. Of course, pay attention to all the turtle Easter eggs because it's Maturin. Maturin? Pronunciation notwithstanding, I like turtles. But we see it's Lily in class who's really sad, and we see her stupid ass, dumb ass friend Marge in the corner looking at her like, oh, we gotta be friends again. But she's really scheming some bullshit. Is her name Marge? I don't give a fuck, to be honest. But that's when Charlotte finds the pictures that Will took in his room and asks him what the hell's going on. And he cries a little bit, telling her everything that happened with Ronnie's dad and what they're trying to do. And of course, Charlotte, reading the headline from the newspaper earlier, is putting two and two together and is like, all right, I really got to do something about this now that my child is involved. And also, I really love the composition of this shot. Beautiful stuff. And that's when Leroy decides to take Will on a fishing trip to get his mind off of things. But when Leroy goes to get more bait, Will notices a nice little koi fish in the fucking river. That's when Pennywise pops out of the fucking water and says, let me give you a hand. As we see, Pennywise is taking the shape of Leroy, like all burnt up and dead. We actually find out later that Will actually fears the death of his father from going to war and shit. But Leroy immediately hears this and runs straight to Will and notices that he actually has like burn and scratch marks on his arm. And that's when Will basically tells him there's something in Derry and it's not good. Motherfucker acting his ass off. And as they look off into the distance, you'll float too. They just see one of Pennywise's patented red balloons floating down the river. Leroy's like, yeah, I need to talk to some people. But not before Charlotte said, we got to get to the bottom of who's on top. As she is also the finest of shits. She goes straight to Police Chief Bowers asking about what happened to Ronnie's dad and if she can see and talk to him. He's like, listen, you're not a relative or anything close, so I'm sorry, I can't do that. Dip. So she locked in and said, I bet I'm gonna go straight to the source. And she goes and has a talk with Ronnie's grandma and gets close to them, saying that Ronnie and her son Will are friends. If you just give me a note to be able to talk to him, I think I can help because of everything I've done in the South before. Obviously, she's a revolutionary. That's when we pick back up with Dick hollering, who starts having these migraine visions, which is obviously Pennywise fucking with his head because now he saw him and he wasn't supposed to. We see what I think is supposed to be Pennywise taking the shape of Holleran's grandmother, but I'm also having a theory that I think his grandmother tried to fight Pennywise because he's telling him to stay the fuck away. Maybe she also had a connection to the shine that Dick also has. Maybe she's able to talk to him in the afterlife. I don't know. That's just my working theory right now. I don't know if it's in the books or anything. Book readers, tell me if I'm onto something. But that's when Leroy pulls up on Dick and says, hey, my son is involved in this bullshit now. What the fuck are we actually looking for? And Dick is like, listen, man, I just answer and take orders, same as you. I'm honestly surprised that Leroy didn't question if Dick was the one behind what happened to his son. But fuck it, we move to the precursor of the Losers Club. We got to give them a name. Wait, I got it. Outcast. That's pretty good, but it's taken. Anyway, Will, I might call him Mike throughout this, by the way. I don't know if I've done that already, but fuck it, Mike Will made it. Will, being the genius that he is, says some predators love the secretion of their prey having fear, as it makes their prey taste better when they feed on them. It's like, what if this thing is just trying to scare us and that's why he hasn't killed us yet, to try to make us taste better and eat us? And Will, you're a fucking genius. You hit the nail right on the head. That's when they're like, damn, too bad we don't have a way to not feel fear. And Lily says, wait a minute, I got something. My mom's perks. So we all gonna split the pill. Actually, we all can individually get a pill, but fuck it, you know what I mean. I knew the perk was fake, but I still ate it because I'm a gremlin. That's when we got Four Eyes over here telling Lily that she misses her and she wants to be friends again, but she's really just setting up a trap. But Lily agrees to have lunch with her, and the plan is set in motion. That's when Charlotte pulls back up to the police station with a letter from the family saying that she can go ahead and talk to Ronnie's dad. But of course, Chief Bowers course, isn't there, and his right-hand guy is like, listen, lady, you have to wait for him to come back. And my goodness, the scene when she locked the fuck in, I said, nah, see, that's just not good enough. She really hit the white chicks. I'm gonna write a letter. A strongly worded one at that. Is it getting hot in here, or is it just me? But she's finally able to talk to Ronnie's dad, and we learn a couple of things. One, he wasn't actually in his room that night. He left. But also, the police violated his rights, so he can go on house arrest, but they're gonna have to work around a little bit, and he is gonna have to go to Shawshank for a couple of days at least. But she tells him, like, where were you actually that night? If you don't tell him, like, you're fucked. And it can't possibly be worse than killing kids, right? And that's when he says, I was out with a woman. And she goes, married, huh? He goes, yeah, and worse. She's white. You know what they gonna do to someone like me in a town like this for sleeping with a married white woman? And I'm not gonna, I understand it now. And to use the terms of the oppressors, that is quite a pickle you're in there, sir. That's when we cut to Francis looking at a photo of Taniel and a bunch of other Native American kids who have been spying on the military, digging up stuff. And he's like, you know what? Open up the gates, invite them in. Maybe they'll be able to help us find what we're looking for. So we pick back up with Lily and her fake ass friend. And she tells us that one of the cute kids at school like really likes her and wants to talk to her. And bless Lily, oh my goodness, she's so naive. But also this cute ass little look on her face, like she's just so happy to feel joy for the first time in a long time. But she decides to go freshen up in the bathroom first, thankfully, because that motherfucker was just gonna embarrass her in front of the entire school. But just when Marge is about to do the right thing and tell Lily what's about to happen, she starts tweaking. Matter of fact, her eyes start bulging out of her fucking sockets. Like, I'm talking full googly eyes. I definitely can't show like the full image, but just think Squidward and SpongeBob meme. She starts like stabbing her eyes and then notices the saw in woodshop class. And somehow the most disgusting thing about this scene is Lily having to get the perk out of the fucking toilet. But Marge actually saws off one of her own fucking eyes. Honestly, I was rooting for this shit to happen. But unfortunately, Lily actually stops her from going any further. And why does this keep happening to her? Because all the other kids pull up and it looks like she stabbed Marge in the eye. Marge, you better fucking say the right thing, that she didn't do nothing. Or I swear to God, I'm pulling up on your parents' house and I'm gonna be fucking Pennywise. Hold on, wait a minute. That's a little crazy. But it's kind of real though. That's when we pick up with Leroy talking to Charlotte because he knows that she went to the police station and he didn't like that, not one bit. And that's when she claps back and says, well, why should I tell you what I'm doing when you don't tell me what you're doing? But when she said, I'm just trying to make the country that you fight for better. Again, I was like, is it getting hot in here? Point blank, period. That's when Will wakes up to a nightmare and decides to look out of his telescope. Of course he sees Pennywise behind a fucking tree. Looking like that Spice Adams meme. I'm coming to get you, Will. And that's when Leroy runs out in the middle of the street and says, I've played these games before. But he notices the red balloon up in the tree again. And he's like, all right, I'm pulling up straight on Francis. What the fuck are we looking for? What is in this town? And he says, don't worry, I'm going to give it to you. As he shows them, they arrested Taniel, who was trespassing on military property. Not only that, Holleran is going to be using his techniques to get into his mind. And that's when Holleran uses his shine to get into the mind of Taniel. I really like the way they visualized his shine. It's like a very dark room, similar to like Stranger Things when Elle travels through and talks to people. We see like a bunch of doors and one opens itself to him, and we see it's a young Taniel who's telling the story of Native Americans fighting it to his Auntie Rose. You see everything from when it first crashes to the same crater we see in the two movies and the three little dots flying up into the air. We learned the reason the Native Americans were safe was because they cut a piece of the crater off. It was done by one of their elders, and this motherfucker right here is dripped up, left, right, and down. They use a sliver of it to keep themselves safe. The issue is the colonizers pulled up, take the land, even though they were warned about the monster in the woods, and Pennywise grows stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where it just starts killing too many of their people. So they decide to leave. You need to leave! But of course, one of the kids says, you know what? We need to do something about this. Let's get more of the stuff of the crater and get more slivers. And I'm pretty sure that's the little girl that plays Katara in the live action Avatar: The Last Airbender. Someone fact check me though. And they should have listened to their elders because Pennywise fucking eats a lot of the old Native American people and almost eats her mom. But of course, thankfully, she pulls up with the sliver. Unfortunately, her mama succumbs to the wounds. They did get a bunch of more pieces of the crater and they decided to bury a bunch of them around the territory. One of which is encased in a shell that looks like a turtle shell. Maturin. I like turtles. But they also burned the marks to know where everything was buried, and they created a border of which it stays inside. He's only allowed to hunt within these borders. For a second, I thought Dick Halloran turned into it, but he really was just smiling because earlier Taniel fucking spit in his face. So he's like, I got your ass now. Now show me where the fuck all this shit is at. And that's when Taniel opens up the door that he was in and says it's over there. As we see, it's Pennywise's house from the It movies, and we just cut to black. And I'm not gonna hold you, that episode was long as shit. There was a lot of exposition for the last 20 minutes, but I kind of needed it, and I liked it a lot. Hell, I might even loved it. And just know you'll float too. We're getting closer and closer to seeing Pennywise's return on a big screen, or I guess small screen, but fuck it, screen. And I can't wait. I'm thoroughly enjoying my time with It Welcome to Derry, but let me know what you thought about It Welcome to Derry episode 4, as well as my thoughts, theories, and opinions down in the comments below. And as always, like and follow for more.